What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and I got a new video for y'all today. So the topic that I have to talk to y'all about is something that was voted on my Instagram channel from a lot of my followers and supporters. Before we get into this topic though, I would like for y'all to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button, let people know that your boy Cool Colas has a bunch of videos that are going to be coming soon and a lot of good and helpful information that is going to be portrayed in this content or throughout my channel. So today I want to talk about the difference between black representation and black authenticity, because these are two very different things. And I've heard these words being thrown around. Specifically, I've heard black representation being thrown around quite a bit. And it's something that I think that we need to dive a little bit deeper into. So let's start with black representation. Black representation is a term that has become a buzzword. The reason why is because people like to use it as something to seem like they're talking about black people being shown in certain places. That's the literal definition. Some people would say black faces in high places, and that is true too, but I think it's just the idea of black people being shown. I don't think they're always in a high place. I think it's them being shown around. I think if enough representation is given, it gives the visibility that black people are being represented. In other words, black people are being shown in a way that they weren't before in the past, where racism was more blatant. So the reason why I bring this up is because black representation is something that people throw around as a positive thing. To me, I don't feel like it's actually that positive. I think that it's very overrated, as a matter of fact. I think that black representation is something that a lot of times is white controlled, white created, white owned. And then what they do is they put in black faces in certain places in order to say that they are giving an accurate amount of diversity. So it's really, to me, a diversity checkbox or a diversity quota. So the reason why they do this is because the white supremacists all the time, racist, whoever is creating like whatever it is that they have, whatever they own, a lot of times what they try to do is put black faces into certain places in order to prove that they indeed are not racist. And then what they may do is double down and say, well, the other way that we can continue to have support and people buying into us, whatever product it is that we're selling, whatever it is that we're doing. So this could literally be a TV show, a movie, this could be something political, whatever the case is. They'll say people will still buy into me and people will still continue to support me and whatnot because of the fact that I'm showing that I support black representation. So the promotion of black people. And people will then think that this company or whoever is not racist because they see more black faces. Now, we need to really define what people means, because that is different from person to person and group to group. Usually for black people, especially for those who don't discern very well, what this really means is that the black people who they see are in my opinion, reflection of the culture that is producing this content with black people. So in other words, they see it as, oh, well, this is positive because we're seeing more black people. And obviously these companies that are not black owned have taken the time to put black people on the map in some way. That's how the less discerning people actually see that. And then when it comes to other people who are non-black, they see it as there's no reason for black people to complain when they have been represented by white people or non-black people. So again, I want to review with y'all. The main ways that this shows up is in movies, when you see more black characters, or you see a black character inserted here or there. TV shows where you see a black character inserted here or there. Political positions is another place where you may see this. You know, if they appoint a black Supreme Court judge, or if they have a black president or that type of thing. So the reality is that a lot of times black representation is really tokenism. It's really the idea of having that black person that satisfies the quota that needs to be satisfied in order for that person, again, one, to not be racist, and two, to be able to continue to have garnered support and admiration for being somebody who is quote unquote inclusive. That's a big thing to people. And I think the psychology around it is that they want to create a facade that there is no more blatant racism or discrimination that is going on. That is why they put those images out there. It's not because they actually care. You know, the reality is that if they did care, then there would be actual tangible benefits that would be given to black people. Or when black people, specifically like new black media and pro-blacks, are saying, hey, these are the things we need, like reparations and like tangible laws that are going to protect black people and things like that, and these things aren't still around, it tells you about the care that these people have about not really putting on for black people. So again, that's going a little bit far into it. It's still true, but it's going a little far into it. I think the idea that I'm saying is that black representation itself is really just tokenism, but it's a glorified word for that because tokenism actually sounds negative. Black representation is just the miscellaneous idea of representing any black person specifically. And the problem a lot of times with these representations are they're not really accurate. A lot of times they're things like race swaps where the character may be black in their look, like their skin color, and then the other phenotype, so like in their hair and things like that, facial structure. But then their behavior, how they act and things like that aren't necessarily privy or don't show that they're privy to black culture itself. That doesn't mean that black people are all in one box, but I think that it would be cool to see the authenticity of blackness and black culture as a whole and the things that we embrace, you know, our icons, the music that we listen to, the foods we eat, that type of thing. Now, again, me saying that is not an advocacy for white people to do those things because that can quickly turn into being performative. What I'm simply saying is that we need to actually go more towards black authenticity versus black representation. And I'm going to get into that right now. The difference between black representation and black authenticity is black authenticity is really a form of black representation, but it gives the total autonomy to black people. I truly believe that a lot of these white and non-black owned companies, if they really wanted to do something positive for black people and put them on the map and do all these great things, then they could give them the funding, they could do things tangibly for them, they could help them in all these other ways where they're able to do all these things on their own. That's how we have a fair and just society. But I don't really think that they want to do that. I think they still want to be in control. But how can you control my narrative? How can you control my culture? How can you control these things about me and you aren't even a part of my culture? So black authenticity is the idea of a black person who is on code and willing to support and work with other black people and not let others in to control the narrative, putting out and producing things that are authentically black. So putting out and distributing things that have black faces, but these black faces have a very big cultural awareness is what I'm getting at. Black authenticity is the idea of black ownership. Blacks own something. Blacks employ their own. Blacks put out their own images, that type of thing. The issue is that a lot of representation is white owned. And if it does go beyond the whole white owned thing, what they do is this thing called controlled opposition. So if you don't know what that is, that's essentially when a white person or a non-black person will produce something that presents the image of black authenticity while still not being authentically black because one, they're in it. And two, they do it because, again, it's going to be an even more nuanced way that they're going to be able to garner support. That controlled opposition is also not black authenticity because black people aren't running it and black people aren't able to be codified because they have allowed other non-black people who typically are not who really aren't codified at all, like into their space. And they typically are doing this because they want to create this means of saying that they are very diversified. So it's still somewhat selfish. Well, it's still completely selfish. I think that's the thing that people need to realize. Not even somewhat, it's completely selfish. And so black authenticity is the idea of us owning and controlling our own thing as black people, telling our own stories, promoting our own people, having our own politicians, having our own lawmakers, those types of things, and putting them in place that they can change things in a positive way for black people. Not the idea of portraying a narrative so other people are bamboozled as to what is happening behind the scenes. So those are the differences between the two. We should always, as black people, advocate for black authenticity, and we need to stop celebrating black representation as much as we do, in my opinion. Anyway, y'all, that's all I have for this video. It was very quick, very clear, concise explanation so that y'all get the point. If y'all want to hear more from me or got more content that you would like to see me talk about and whatnot, feel free to let me know. Follow me on Instagram at coolcolas. And if you have not subscribed, once again, please hit the subscribe button and make sure that you follow me, like me, share whatever I'm saying, and let other people know what I'm doing out here. Anyway, I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.